The Ancient Kings of Egyptians. Welcome to Gods TV. Today we will be giving the history of the kings of Egypt in the ancient times. Djefer, also known as Rajadif, was the third pharaoh of the 4th dynasty of Egypt, ruling from 2566 BCE to 2558 BCE. He was the son and successor of Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza. During his reign, Djefer continued the monumental building projects started by his father, including the construction of a pyramid at Abu Ruwash, which is located approximately 8 kilometers north of Giza. Although this pyramid was not completed, it is still one of the largest and most impressive structures from the 4th dynasty. Djefer also had a number of temples and other structures built in his honor throughout Egypt, and he is known for commissioning several impressive works of art, including a number of statues and reliefs. Despite these accomplishments, Djefer's reign was relatively short, and he is often overshadowed by his more famous father, Khufu. He was succeeded by his half-brother, Khafra, who is perhaps best known for building the second largest pyramid at Giza. There is some controversy surrounding Djefer's reign, as some historians believe that he may have been responsible for the destruction of the causeway leading to his father's pyramid at Giza. Others believe that this was the result of natural erosion, rather than intentional destruction. Regardless of the specifics of his reign, Djefer remains an important figure in the history of ancient Egypt, and his legacy can be seen in the impressive structures and works of art that he commissioned during his short time as pharaoh. Djefer was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who ruled during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom period. He was the son and successor of Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid at Giza. Djefer's reign is somewhat shrouded in mystery, and historians have had to rely on limited archaeological evidence to piece together his life and rule. It is believed that he reigned for about 8 years, from around 2528 to 2520 BCE. During his reign, Djefer continued his father's legacy of building monumental structures. He is credited with commissioning the construction of the Pyramid of Djefer, which is located at Abu Ruwash, about 8 kilometers north of Giza. This pyramid is smaller and less elaborate than his father's Great Pyramid, leading some historians to speculate that Djefer may have had a shorter reign or faced financial difficulties. Djefer also ordered the construction of a temple at Abu Ruwash, which was dedicated to the god Ra. This temple was known as House of the Phoenix and was decorated with beautiful reliefs depicting the pharaoh in the company of various deities. Despite his achievements in architecture, Djefer's reign was not without controversy. According to some historical accounts, he may have had a strained relationship with his half-brother, Prince Rajadif, who was the son of Khufu's second wife. Some sources suggest that Djefer may have been responsible for Rajadif's death, although this is not widely accepted by modern scholars. Djefer's own reign ended in a succession crisis, with his son and designated heir, Setka, facing opposition from another prince named Khafra. Khafra ultimately emerged victorious and went on to become the next pharaoh, building his own pyramid at Giza. Overall, Djefer's reign was a time of significant building and artistic achievement, but also marked by political intrigue and uncertainty. Khafra, also known as Hefren, was the 4th pharaoh of the 4th dynasty of ancient Egypt, reigning from circa 2558 to 2532 BCE. He was the son of Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid at Giza, and the successor to his older brother Djefer. Khafra is best known for his construction of the second largest pyramid at Giza, which is named after him. It stands at 471 feet, 143 meters, tall and is constructed of limestone blocks. The pyramid complex also includes a mortuary temple, causeway, valley temple, and smaller pyramids for Khafra's wives and family members. Like his father and brother, Khafra was also known for his military campaigns, particularly in Nubia, where he established a fortress at Buin to protect Egypt's southern border. He is also credited with sending expeditions to the Sinai Peninsula to mine turquoise and copper, and to the Wadi Hammamat to quarry stone for his pyramid. Khafra was succeeded by his son, Menkaure, who continued the tradition of pyramid building at Giza. After his death, Khafra was revered as a god and his pyramid complex was used for religious ceremonies and offerings. Today, Khufu's pyramid and complex remain one of the most visited and well-known landmarks in Egypt, attracting millions of tourists each year. The complex is also a testament to the advanced engineering and architectural skills of the ancient Egyptians, and continues to fascinate and inspire people around the world. Khufu was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who ruled during the Old Kingdom period, around 2558 to 2532 BCE. He was the son of Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid at Giza, and is believed to have taken the throne after the death of his older brother, Jafer. During his reign, Khufu continued the building projects initiated by his father, including the construction of his own pyramid complex at Giza. This complex included the famous Great Sphinx, a massive limestone statue with the head of a human and the body of a lion. The purpose of the Sphinx is still debated by scholars, but it is generally believed to have served as a guardian of the pharaoh's tomb. Khufu's pyramid, which is the second largest at Giza, was originally 143.5 meters tall, although it has since lost its uppermost portion. The pyramid was built with a sophisticated internal design, featuring multiple chambers and corridors. The walls of these chambers were decorated with elaborate reliefs and hieroglyphs, many of which depicted Khufu in various poses and activities. In addition to his building projects, Khufu was also known for his military campaigns, which expanded Egypt's influence into Nubia and Libya. He is depicted in numerous reliefs and statues as a powerful and imposing figure, often shown wearing the traditional pharaonic regalia of the kilt, crown, and false beard. Khufu ruled for a total of 26 years, according to most estimates, and was succeeded by his son, Menkaure. He is remembered as one of the greatest pharaohs of the Old Kingdom, and his pyramid complex at Giza remains one of the most visited and studied archaeological sites in the world. Menkaure was an ancient Egyptian king who ruled during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom, from around 2532 BCE to 2504 BCE. He was the son of King Khufu, and his mother is believed to have been Queen Khmerennoptah II. Menkaure is perhaps best known for building the third and smallest of the Great Pyramids of Giza, which is named after him. The pyramid was constructed using limestone and granite, and was originally 218 feet, 66 meters, tall, although it has since lost its casing and its current height is around 204 feet, 62 meters. The pyramid complex also included a mortuary temple and a causeway, and was surrounded by smaller pyramids for members of the king's family. In addition to his pyramid, Menkaure is also known for his many statues, including the famous triads which show the king with the goddess Hathor and the deified soul of his wife. These statues were typically made of diorite, a hard stone that was difficult to work with, and their production would have required a high level of skill and craftsmanship. Menkaure's reign was marked by stability and prosperity, and he continued many of the building projects begun by his predecessors. He also maintained trade relations with neighboring countries, including Nubia and the Sinai Peninsula, and is known to have imported exotic goods such as ebony and ivory. After his death, Menkaure was succeeded by his son Hatshepsut, who ruled for a brief period before the end of the Old Kingdom and the beginning of the First Intermediate Period. Despite this tumultuous time in Egyptian history, Menkaure's pyramid and other monuments have survived to the present day, providing a glimpse into the world of ancient Egypt and the legacy of this remarkable king. Menkaure was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who ruled during the 4th dynasty, which lasted from approximately 2613 to 2494 BCE. He is best known for building the third and smallest of the pyramids at Giza, which was named after him. Menkaure was the son of Khufu, who was the builder of the second largest pyramid at Giza. Menkaure likely ascended to the throne after the death of his older brother Jafer. During his reign, Menkaure continued the building projects begun by his father and brother. He also undertook several military campaigns, including a successful expedition into Nubia, where he brought back several captives and much plunder. Menkaure's pyramid at Giza, which is also known as the Pyramid of Menkaure or Menkaure's Pyramid, was completed around 2490 BCE. It stands approximately 213 feet, 65 meters, tall and is constructed of limestone blocks. The pyramid is notable for its 3 subsidiary pyramids, which were built for Menkaura's queens. After his death, Menkaura was buried in his pyramid at Giza, along with many treasures and offerings. His reign was relatively short and uneventful, but his pyramid remains one of the most famous and well-preserved examples of ancient Egyptian architecture. Sehur was a pharaoh who ruled ancient Egypt during the 5th dynasty, from around 2487 BC to 2475 BC. He was the second pharaoh of the dynasty and the successor of his father Userkaf. Sehur's reign was a period of relative stability and prosperity for Egypt. He commissioned many impressive building projects, including the construction of his pyramid at Abusir and the development of a large temple complex at his capital city of Memphis. The temple complex included a number of impressive statues and reliefs, including the famous statue of a scribe known as the Scribe of Saqqara. Sehur was also known for his military campaigns, including an expedition to the land of Punt, which was a major trading partner of Egypt at the time. He is also believed to have had diplomatic relations with other powerful kingdoms in the region, such as the Kingdom of Kush to the south. Despite his many accomplishments, there is little information available about Sehur's personal life. Some scholars believe that he was a patron of the arts and that he may have commissioned some of the earliest known examples of Egyptian literature, including a collection of poems known as the King's Decrees. Sehur was succeeded by his son, Neferukar, who continued his father's policies of building and expansion. Today, the remains of Sehur's pyramid and temple complex can still be seen at Abusir, providing a glimpse into the accomplishments of this ancient Egyptian pharaoh. Sehur was the second pharaoh of the 5th dynasty of ancient Egypt, ruling from around 2487 to 2475 BCE. He succeeded his father, Userkaf, and was succeeded by his brother, Neferukar Kakai. Sehur's reign was marked by a number of notable achievements, including the construction of a pyramid complex at Abusir, which included a large mortuary temple and a causeway leading to the pyramid itself. The pyramid was originally around 49 meters tall and was one of the largest of its time. Sehur was also known for his military campaigns, particularly against the Libyans in the Western Desert. He is depicted in numerous reliefs and inscriptions as a victorious warrior, and is thought to have expanded Egypt's control over the region. In addition to his military accomplishments, Sehur was also a patron of the arts, and is believed to have commissioned a number of important works during his reign, including the famous Palermo stone, which recorded the history of ancient Egypt from the earliest times up to the reign of his predecessor, Userkaf. Sehur's rule is also associated with a flourishing of trade and commerce, particularly with the city of Byblos in modern-day Lebanon, which was an important source of cedar wood for the construction of temples and ships. Overall, Sehur is remembered as a powerful and successful pharaoh who oversaw a period of stability and prosperity for ancient Egypt. His pyramid complex at Abusir remains one of the best preserved examples of Egyptian architecture from the Old Kingdom period. Nusir-ini was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who ruled during the 5th dynasty of the Old Kingdom period, from approximately 2445 BC to 2421 BC. He is known for his construction projects, including the completion of the pyramid complex at Abusir, and for his temple building programs. Nusir-ini was the son of the pharaoh Neferukar Kakai and the queen Conquests II. He ascended to the throne after the death of his brother, the pharaoh Neferfer, who ruled for only a few years. Nusir-ini's reign was relatively long and stable, and he oversaw the continuation of many building projects begun by his predecessors. One of Nusir-ini's most significant accomplishments was the completion of his own pyramid complex at Abusir. This included a large pyramid made of limestone, a mortuary temple, and a causeway that connected the two structures. He also commissioned several smaller pyramids for members of his family. Nusir-ini was also a patron of the arts and a supporter of the temple cults. He built several temples during his reign, including the Temple of the Sun at Abusir, which was dedicated to the sun god Ra. The temple featured a large open court, a series of columns, and an inner sanctuary. During his reign, Muser-ini continued the tradition of sending expeditions to the Sinai Peninsula to mine for turquoise and copper. He also maintained diplomatic relations with neighboring states, including the Kingdom of Kush and the city-state of Byblos. Muser-ini died after a long reign of approximately 24 years, and he was succeeded by his son, Menkaure-Khufu. His pyramid complex at Abusir remains one of the most impressive architectural achievements of the Old Kingdom period. Muser-ini was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who ruled during the 13th dynasty, in the Middle Kingdom period. He is believed to have reigned for around 24 years, from approximately 1760 BC to 1736 BC. There is still a lot of debate among Egyptologists about Muasir's exact place in the 13th dynasty and his relationship to other pharaohs of the period. Some scholars believe that he was the successor of Pharaoh Sekhemre-Khufu-Sopotep, while others suggest that he may have come later in the dynasty. Despite this uncertainty, there is some information available about Muasir's reign. He is known to have commissioned a number of building projects, including a temple to the god Ptah in Memphis and a funerary complex in Abydos. He also continued the expansion of trade with Nubia, which had begun during the reign of his predecessor. One of the most famous artifacts associated with Muasir is a large limestone statue of the pharaoh, which was discovered in the Karnak temple complex. The statue shows him wearing the traditional kilt and holding a crook and flail, symbols of royal power. Muasir's reign was also notable for the continued decentralization of power in Egypt, which had begun during the First Intermediate Period. During this time, regional governors and other officials gained more autonomy and were able to amass more power for themselves, leading to a decline in the power of the central government. Overall, Muasir's reign was a time of relative stability in Egypt, and he is remembered as a competent and effective pharaoh who maintained the country's cultural and religious traditions while overseeing important building projects and trade initiatives. Menkaure-Khufu, also known as Menkaure, was an Egyptian pharaoh who ruled during the Old Kingdom period of ancient Egyptian history. He was the seventh pharaoh of the 5th dynasty and reigned for a relatively short period, around 8 to 9 years, from approximately 2422 BC to 2414 BC. Not much is known about Menkaure's life or reign, as very few records and monuments have survived from his time. His name is found on a few fragments of reliefs and inscriptions in the pyramid complex of his predecessor, Sahar, in the necropolis of Abusir. Some scholars have suggested that Menkaure may have been a son or grandson of Sahar, but there is no conclusive evidence to support this theory. It is also possible that he may have been related to other members of the royal family, such as Neferkar-Kakai or Chkar-Isesi, who ruled before and after him. During Menkaure's reign, Egypt may have experienced some economic and political difficulties, as evidenced by the smaller size and simpler design of his pyramid and mortuary complex compared to those of his predecessors. However, it is unclear whether these difficulties were caused by internal problems or external factors such as drought, famine, or foreign invasion. After Menkaure's death, he was buried in a pyramid in Abusir, which was originally around 49 meters high, although it has been largely destroyed over the centuries. Some of the few surviving artifacts from his reign include a number of small ivory and wood statues of him, as well as a copper statue of a goddess that bears his name. Overall, Menkaure-Khufu remains a somewhat enigmatic figure in Egyptian history, with little known about his life, reign, or legacy. Menkaure-Khufu was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who ruled during the 5th dynasty of the Old Kingdom period, approximately between 2422 to 2414 BCE. He was the successor of King Sahar and the predecessor of King Chkar-Isesi. Not much is known about Menkaure's reign, as there are very few records that have survived from that time. Some of the few existing records include a small number of inscriptions and statues, as well as a fragment of a temple relief. These records suggest that Menkaure was a relatively minor king who did not undertake any major construction projects or military campaigns during his reign. One of the most interesting aspects of Menkaure's reign is the fact that he seems to have been the victim of a conspiracy to overthrow him. According to some records, a group of high-ranking officials conspired to overthrow Menkaure and replace him with a prince named Jeti. It is not clear what the motivation for this conspiracy was, or whether it was successful. Some scholars believe that Menkaure may have been able to retain his throne, while others suggest that he was indeed overthrown and replaced. Overall, the reign of Menkaure Khufu remains shrouded in mystery, with many details about his life and reign lost to the sands of time. Nevertheless, his rule serves as a reminder of the fascinating and complex history of ancient Egypt.